In your eyes, where did Christmas come from? The celebration of Christmas itself.
All of it relates to astrology. You know, where the sun, where we spoke a little while ago of the sun going down on the Southern Cross and going below the horizon for 3 days and 3 nights. Now, that's the newborn sun. When the end of winter comes, and then the sun comes up, rises again above the horizon after 3 days and 3 nights. Story being told of the resurrection. That's just where the sun goes below the horizon and is reborn. So the newborn sun comes up, and that's particularly relating to the northern hemisphere, where the sun goes down at the Southern Cross, the sun goes below the horizon, 3 days, 3 nights, rises, and we have the newborn sun. So that's the whole idea behind Christmas. It's an astrological event, not a physical person.
We prepare because we understand that the threats we face are way bigger than just a singular thing. Because of this fact, I've partnered with My Patriot Supply and think you should too. Right now, save $70 on a 2-week food kit with guaranteed 2-day delivery at preparewithOOWK.com. This offer won't last, but here's the good news. My Patriot Supply will. Don't think you can afford to prepare? They have payment plans and options to fit any budget, so don't wait. Get ahead of the chaos today. Prepare with OOWK.com.
And then you have Mary Magdalene, who has some relation to the time of Virgo in that part of in the astrology chart. And Virgo has to do with harvesting.
So who is Mary Magdalene then in astrology? Who is she?
The sign of Virgo. It would be the time of harvest, where we get the word Bethlehem. That's why Jesus was born in Bethlehem. Bethlehem is another word for harvest or bread. So it was a time of harvesting. So as you can see, it's a cycle, as you said, where water was turned into wine, where they harvested, and then what was water gets turned into grapes and gets turned into wine. So it's all it's a cycle. The gods are energy or forces or ways of explaining natural events in nature. As I was talking about the 3 big gods, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. Now, in astrology, you get 3 main, what they call aspects. Aspects is just a fancy word in astrology for an angle. You get 3 main angles in astrology. That's the 0 degrees, where 2 planets sit right next to each other. That's called conjunct, or 0 degrees. Or another way of looking at it is a full 360 degree and it comes back. So it's a 360 degree or a 0 degree angle. That's the one, what they call a war. Because if you're standing very close to somebody that you've just met, you get into their personal space, it can be very intense. And it can either be positive or negative. That's one aspect of a war. Another aspect of a war is a 60-degree angle called sextile in astrology. Now, that is a very harmonious time. So harmony can also invoke jealousy. But generally, that's a very positive time. Then you'll get a square, which is 90 degrees, a square angle. And that's the most difficult war. You will then get a trine where there's a lot of excess. So you'll see in history there's been times where societies have gone through excessive, like the Roman Empire was an excessive empire. That could have been ordained by the gods, if you want to call that. And that's the 4th conjunct, sextile, square, trine, and then you move into the 5th one, which is opposition. So opposition is when the planets are opposite each other at 180 degrees. And these are the wars. And then obviously now it repeats it as it moves through the cycle onto the other side. So it will start at 0 here, for example, move around to a 60 degree, 90 degree, 120 degree, 180 degree. Then it does the same thing on this side, 120 degrees, 90 degrees, 60 degrees and back. So you can see how many different wars you've got. But in essence, there's 5 main star wars. So yeah, the angles that happen up there in the stars when they have specific angles to each other, and they affect the energy throughout the universe. On a mundane level, very basically, if you want to understand astrology, day and night, the sun and moon, the two, one of the two, what they call two luminaries. When you talk of what their function is, that's the easiest way to start getting a grasp on the other 5 planets that to make up the 7. You look at the sun. The sun, the day is for work and the night is for sleep. So when you look at that, those energies, those are just 2 of the planets in astrology. They control our life. They condition when we work and when we go to sleep. So when you look at those energies and then you start realizing, okay, so there's another 5, and relative to what they're doing, how they influence and how they affect each other, we have certain events occur here throughout the universe, not just on Earth, but throughout the universe. And these are important dates, what they talk of forecasts or fortune telling, is you just simply know, well, that event is coming, and it's because they've followed a pattern and realized, okay, Jupiter is going to do its cycle every 12 years, and Saturn is going to do its cycle every 30 years. And when you realize that those 2 meet up, you realize that certain events in nature are going to take place, and it's not just here on Earth, it's up in the night sky. So it's events, universal events. So when you say they knew more about the stars, yeah, they watched events. Eclipses was another thing. Eclipses was when some kings flourished and some kings were beheaded. So eclipses have another important aspect to goings on here in the political arena, or in the kings or the people who rule. Some of the stories told about what they did with kings, because in the olden times they felt that the moon was being swallowed, and that when that was being attacked by somebody, that the king's life was at stake. So what they would do in some cultures is they would actually put another false king on the throne, that should anything happen, that those events would affect that temporary king. And then after that, the eclipse is gone, the actual proper king would come back into his throne. So they were very concerned what happened, and it was, some kings were actually beheaded during eclipses, some kings flourished. So they affect, those events or those energies affect life throughout the universe. So it's just an energy form. That's all astrology is. It's an energy map. It just tells us when certain things are going to happen, like in the sun, during the day you will work, and at night the moon rules, you'll go to sleep. So those are energies. So it's not to say that we are governed or we have to abide by them, but they are guidelines to say, well, when the sun is shining, just say, make hay. When the moon is out, it's time to meditate, it's time to sleep, it's time to go within. And then you've got all the other planets, fiery god, planet of war, doing its thing. And when it has a certain angle to the other planets, then you've got events, things of those 5 main angles, the 0 degrees, the 60 degrees, 90 degrees, 120 and 180 degrees. When they sit at those different angles, things are going to happen throughout the universe, not just in politics. And the people who run the planet are very aware of this, and they know how to align energies to these events. Facebook does it all the time. When Facebook does these the last time when Facebook announced they were changing the rules or something, it was done according to a time of the stars. You'll have a look, certain computer programs will either be discontinued or new regulations will be brought in according to the things happening in the sky. So people don't realize, I mean, it appears random. The 22nd, it happens. Notice the days when it happens. It's usually around anywhere from the 19th to the 23rd. And nobody questions that. Those are astrological dates, because that's when, if you look at an astrological time, that is when the energy shifts from one sign into another. So just look at those dates and question when any change or anything has been brought about, whether politics, whether banking, anything in the commercial or the political world, anything around the 19th to the 23rd usually aligns with a change of a zodiac sign. So it's not a random date, and it's not, and the times also make a difference. What time those things are put out into the masses. The Vatican, which is the Vatican, owns and has rulership over every observatory on the planet, and nobody questions that. You are not allowed to find a new discovery of your own and just put it on the net. You first have to be okayed through the Vatican. Well, what's the Vatican doing studying the stars? Why have they got a vested interest in every planetarium on the planet? Every planetarium. And then, as you say, just look at astrology. Astrology dates because they don't do it exactly the same time. Just look at the dates. Anywhere between the 19th and the 23rd, know that there's a change in energy. And they align those dates with the stars. It's being done all the time, and people don't realize it. And that's Christmas is just another one. Easter, the two main dates throughout, and it's throughout all religions and philosophies. Easter and Christmas are the two main dates, and they are the two main points in the zodiac. And we should also learn to align our life according to not Christmas in the Christian sense, but Christmas as in a new light, a new way, we're upgrading our consciousness. We're elevating ourselves, spiraling up and up the whole time. And around the 22nd to the 25th is a time of when energy shifts. And then the Easter time is when everything then manifests. That's the time of Aries. Aries, if you look at the symbol of Aries, it looks like a little ram's horn or a sprout of the two leaves. But you'll notice that sprout, we don't see the seed below the ground. We just see the sprout above. So that's the physical manifestation. Whereas Christmas is the time of inceptions, or the beginnings, or the time before birth. Although we talk of the newborn son, we're really talking before baby Jesus is actually coming to being somebody to reckon with. It's just a baby, somebody that's not like fully developed, fully evolved. But at Aries, when that's the spring period, that's when everything starts manifesting, starts now to really show itself to the world. So those two dates are very, very important in our lives, not just according to Christian Easter and Christmas. It's for everybody. Every philosophy, every path, every religion, everyone talks of different places or dimensions. One, on our level of thinking, we talk of heaven. But then there's actually a place beyond heaven. And that's what we talk of the source, or the origin of everything. I've talked about it before, the void. So you've got these different places, or rather different states of being, that we can access or enter into. And there's different ways to get there. I'm going to explain it shortly to you. I think if I can just backtrack a little about, I know there's a lot of interest in the Pleiadians and what they're doing and giving us hope and what have you. But I also just want to say, if we look at where we are now in the great cycle of the age, the great age, the 25,000 year age, if we look at that cycle and we realize, okay, so Pleiades was a time of 5,000 years ago, 4,000 to 2000 BC. And we look at that, we're now in the age of Pisces. It's more relevant, and I would like that this maybe can help a lot of people with what you wanted to do here for Christmas, where if we realize what the age of Pisces is all about, it will help people understand why the information and suppression and lies and everything's just so dysfunctional. Is the age of Pisces, which we're in now, is an age of illusion. It's to hide. Okay, there are 4 levels. So, and a lot of people want to say, well, how do we get into the higher level or the ultimate level? Andrew, when you start studying all this philosophical stuff, you will realize that we are in all 4 levels right now, and they're different dimensions or different planes, different whatever forms of existence you want to talk about. We are in all 4 of them right now, but we think we are only these bodies in one dimension. In actual fact, we're in those other dimensions right now. And of those dimensions, I've explained it in one of my previous videos, the physical body, we are also the soul, we are also spirit, and we are also non-form. And we're all of those at once. But we think we need to ascend. We've been conned, and this is part of the Piscean period, is to be lied to be deceived, to have things hidden, is that we believe we need to strive to get there. But the truth is, we are in all 4 dimensions right now. And it's up to us where we want to access or where we want to be. So I have a physical body. I need to take care of the physical body. But according to my mind, I can then access different dimensions. According to my soul, I can access different dimensions, doing different things. I'm not going necessarily traveling in this body generally, but we can access those different places or states right now. So yes, they are, like you talk of the Yggdrasil tree. Yes, they are states much more than they are places. We would talk of a place, like a memory. If you go into your memory to a really nice, happy memory as a child, and you get so carried away in your memory about that, where are you? Are you in the physical body, or are you in that memory in a time, another time period, in another place? Which is real? Because we're talking here reality. Which is real, Andrew? The truth is both are real. But now we got 4. There's 4 different levels, 4 different dimensions. The irony is we are in all 4 at the same time, and they are all reality. There's not just 1 or 2. Science talks of an alternate reality. No, there's alternate realities. There's more than one, and they're all accessible at the same time. So Pisces, coming in with Pisces, we're all deceived and deluded. We've all been lied to that we think we've only got one alternative. There's only heaven, and there's earth, and there's hell. There's only those 3. But no, there's more. There's more different realities right now. I mean, somebody has mentioned, if you have a look on the net, that we spend 1/3 of our life sleeping, which means, and this person states, if 1/3 of our life is spent sleeping, it's got to be considered an alternative reality. Now, that's only sleeping. What about thinking? What about memories? What about meditation? What about soul with prayer? What about spirit? What about non-form? We've got so many different realities, and we're believing we're only in 1 or 2 realities. So this is part of the Piscean era. Point that I want to get to with Pisces, that if this can help a lot of people, when you look at Pisces, Pisces is known as the 2 fishes swimming in the opposite direction. And everybody tends to focus on the 2 fishes swimming in the opposite direction. What nobody actually looks at, and this is part of the secret of Pisces, of illusion. The one fish is actually facing upright, and the other fish is facing at a 90 degree, or let's call it more or less at that angle. What is not being said, because we're so busy focusing on the fish, is we're not focusing on that ribbon or that cord between the 2 fish. That's the secret. That's the secret for this period that we're in, that would free so many people. If people would just realize that we are not to be looking at the fishes, but more in the connection or the ribbon, what they call the cord. Astral projection. A lot of people like to They like to think of the astral body as being able to travel, and we always talk of the silver cord or the silver thread. In Pisces, the cord is far, far more valuable and important than the two fish. And what that says, the secret behind that is that do not consider the upright fish, which represents heaven or woman, and then the sun as the other fish, which is us here on earth, but rather our connection, the secret to free us of all the pain, to free us of, or what about the end of the world, to free us of the pain and the suffering that we might go through, the death that we think might happen and then life ends, but rather that connection between heaven and us. The connection is the saving grace to life, and that's the secret of all Piscean philosophies. That's what's kept from us. It's not about heaven. It's not about going to another place. It's not about where we are now. The thing that would give everybody peace of mind is if they could focus rather on, I am connected to something higher up. In the Hindu or the Vedas, in the Hindu philosophy, they talk of Maya, illusion, the devil. And Maya in Sanskrit means not that. And what a lot of people do is they think I am this body. But that's an illusion. It's not that. So when you realize that you've got that connection and we can connect to something else, as you say, with a telephone cable, while we're talking with this voice, it transforms or transcends into something else. Then you have to start realizing we're talking soul level, we're talking spirit level, we're talking non-form level. And when you're talking on those levels, Andrew, then you start realizing, but actually I've got another part of me. David Icke said we live in a hologram. So if we live in a hologram or we are a hologram, then where's our real self? Then you start realizing, okay, so again, we've got the telephone line or that cord, that silver cord. Who are we? Where are we? And we all get so in fear by what's going on around us here. And the masses, the media is putting out this propaganda, these lies, this Piscean lie, this Piscean fear factor, delusion, just lying to us all the time. There is nothing that we can hold on to. You cannot believe any philosophy. You cannot believe me. Do not accept anything I say. The only thing that we can hang on to is the fact that we have a connection. And that's the story of Pisces, not the two fish, is that cord, that ribbon, that connection. So again, Father Christmas to do with the Northern Hemisphere has a lot to do with the snow and has a lot to do with that ending of that period. You'll notice the reindeers, and when you look at I'm trying to think what tribe or what peoples that is where they do have the reindeer. And you'll notice that during that time, they were all huddled in their little houses and they used hallucinogenics, mushrooms, magic mushrooms. And the magic mushrooms, during a time, because people were indoors, would actually take people on a trip. So they take these mushrooms and they would go on a trip. And you'd go on the sleigh with the reindeers and they take you off because it comes from that part of the world where they talk of the reindeers. And the reindeers, so these people would go on trips. And so it's not about a Father Christmas out there. It was about us going in the sleigh with the reindeers because that was an animal that was our form of transport in the snow. Those people, they're still now. And that would take us so-called through the chimney. And we'd pass through this tunnel and we'd go into another world. We're tripping. We're tripping. That's what's going on magic mushrooms. And then for some people who didn't necessarily want to take the mushrooms, you can read about this on the net now. It's on the net now. What they would do is the reindeers would actually eat those magic mushrooms and the urine was captured. Now, if you drank that urine, you would reach an altered state. You would reach. That was an hallucinogenic. So it's not just directly the magic mushrooms, but the urine of the reindeer. So the reindeer is very important to do with Father Christmas.